third generation, which was from 1964 to 1975. ICs were smaller, less expensive to produce, more rugged and reliable, faster in operation, dissipated less heat, and consumed less power than circuits built by wiring electronics component manually. So ICs, that was integrated circuits, which included several components. They were smaller, they were less expensive to produce, they were reliable, they had faster operation. So these were advantages of ICs. Now, hence, third generation computers were more powerful, more reliable, less expensive, smaller, and cooler to operate than second generation of computers. So, third generation computers were more reliable. Hence, third generation computers typically had few megabytes, less than 5 megabytes of main memory, and magnetic disk capable of storing few tens of megabytes of data. So it had less memory, which was a few megabytes of main memory. So we know in old Android phones or handheld devices that it had two parts, which was the main memory, that means internal memory, that was storage memory, and we have to insert one memory card which had a lot of memory, that means it was a secondary device like in Android phones. So in second generation computers also we had main memory which was less, so it was faster than those secondary devices, and magnetic disk capable of storing few tens of megabytes of data per disk drive. So it had two partitions. Now Fortran and COBOL were the most popular high level programming languages in those days. So Fortran, Fortran, and COBOL. So these were programming languages. American National Standards Institute ANSI standardized them in 1966 and 1968 respectively, and standardized versions were called ANSI Fortran and ANSI COBOL. So American National Standard Institute, which was ANSI, it gave these languages standardization in 1966 and 68, and they were called ANSI Fortran and ANSI COBOL. Second generation computers used batch operating systems. In those systems, user had to prepare their data and programs and then submit them to a computer center for processing. So it had a batch operating system. In those batch operating systems, user had to prepare their data and programs and then submit them to a computer center for processing. The operator at the computer center collected these user jobs and fed them to computer in batches at scheduled intervals. To rectify this situation, John Kemeny and Thomas Kurtz of Dartmouth College introduced the concept of time sharing operating system. So, time sharing operating system uh, was introduced. So, it enables multiple users to directly access and share a computer's resource, that means its CPU, then its processor, etc. They share with each other. Multiple users directly access and share computers resource simultaneously in a manner that each user feels that no one else is using the computer, in a manner that each user feels that no one else is using the computer. Time sharing operating system collects CPU time in such a way that all user programs have to brief share, known as time slice, of CPU time in turn. Processing speed of CPU allows it to switch from one user job to another and rapid succession and execute a small portion of each job in allocated time slice until the job is completed. So each job is completed in allocated time slice. Each user gets the illusion that he or she alone is using the computer. Introduction of time sharing concept helped in drastically improving the productivity of programmers and made online systems feasible, resulting in new online applications like airline reservation system, interactive query systems, etc. So these kind of time sharing concept helped a lot to users, and they created different applications like airline reservation system, interactive query systems, etc.